Hello everyone.
Welcome to episode 28 of Talks to Chip, which is a continuation of episode 27, where we started talking about pieces by the late, great Delia Derbyshire. And by the way, everything we discuss, we will put the links that we found for our own research in the text with the podcast.
Yes.
So we started off last week talking about, well, the idea was to talk about the Delian Mode, a 6.5 minute piece from Delia Derbyshire from 1968. But of course, we ended up speaking for at least half an hour about the figure of Delia Derbyshire, who she is in our music history and what an important figure she is. So this time we'll try and talk more about the music, the content of the music itself.
Mm-hmm. There is a second part in the work that's called Blue Veils and Golden Sands. We have not been able to talk much about it. I mean, it's also, where I get asked, like, if we do preparations and things for the show. Yeah, we do. But also, this is all quite spontaneous. So sometimes topic opens another topic, one topic goes on to another one. And especially when it comes to composers like this, it's we can only cover so much about it. Yeah. And it's normal, but this is more like about
it's funny because it always triggers off different memories. I never met Delia Derbyshire, but I had a very funny experience, which kind of ties in with her crossover status, was that I worked for the Red Bull Academy on quite a few of their different...
Red Bull Music Academy?
Yes, exactly.
Really?
I did a few Red Bull Music Academy things.
Wow, really? Which ones?
Well, one of the events was I did a couple of them in London and then helped out with one somewhere.
Okay, they can regain my respect now.
And the one that I did, I think it was like 2009, 2010, we can look it up, was with Peter Zinoviev. So Peter Zinoviev, this incredibly important figure that set up EMS synthesizers.
The British synthesizers.
Yeah. Very, very, very important. Very, very influential. Was the first person to have a computer in a private house in the world. And and hosted the big names of electronic music coming over to record. And so he was giving a talk as part of the Red Bull Music Academy with all the young, trendy kids, because it was always very, very fashion orientated, and it was always very orientated towards
fizzy drinks
and hip hop. It was very sort of beat boys kind of vibe.
I think I applied for it like when I lived in Turkey for the 2015 one, and they did not even accept my application. But I was not like sensational enough. I should have been more like,
You should have had a baseball cap on sideways.
Well, I guess they got like non-hip hop kids also, but like I think they looked for people who could be brand or who could generate advertising. I mean, this is not like definitely like derogatory of anyone who got in, but I think for me the focus has become like no BMA in a way.
Yeah, it's gone now anyway.
I think it was very different when you worked there, so this is a difference.
I worked there a number of times, and the base of the people who ran the Red Bull
Music in Germany, right?
In Cologne.
There we go, exactly.
Wasserstrasse. But that could be another episode on it. So we were Peter Zinoviev talking, and I was there to help out and also to operate the VCS3 and the AKS synth that he brought along. And he showed a little film clip of him at the Royal Festival Hall. So in 1966, Zinoviev had set up a group called Unit Delta Plus to promote electronic music. And so he did this performance at the Royal Festival Hall, and he had this little clip that he was showing to the kids. And so he had like his computer on the stage and a bunch of tape stuff. And he happened to mention, this woman walking across the stage at the moment was my assistant at the time, Delia Derbyshire.
Oh my God.
and the place just was like, what? Delia Derbyshire was your assistant? It was like suddenly this kind of crusty old guy had
Yeah.
stepped into pop world, and they were
Yeah,
all
yeah.
from that moment on they were all over him.
Oh wow!
You know, and
Which year was that again?
I think 2010. I will look it up and we'll put it we'll put it in the links. But again, you know, again, it shows that where she is, where she's positioned in popular culture terms is
It's such
quite
a
really strange.
great example for crossover. Look, well, in the previous episode we were talking about this because whatever genre of music you create, whatever genre or whatever music adventure you have, like whether it's, you know, game audio, sound engineers, sound designer, producer, etc. There is it's very important to expose yourself to this historical examples. And then here is an example that was not only like a pioneering woman who was under-recognized, and also someone who did like build that crossover bridge in between different scenes of electronic music, not only positioning herself as a historical figure.
This piece that we want to talk about now,
please.
Blue Veils and Golden Sands, is a really nice example because it was another commission from the BBC as music for a documentary about the Tuareg people in North Africa.
The context, the previous one got selected for Sky at Night, but this was just as part of a commission. I mean, they're like, she did like most of the things that ended up in the archive were like her own creative work, but also some of them basically were things in the studio. And bear in mind, like when it comes to, you know, I think a quick parenthesis about the early electronic music studios, like WDR in Germany, where you are, or Paris studio with Pierre Schaeffer and all the others, GRM, and then this BBC Radiophonic Workshop. The main function of these studios were not like mainly like music creation and artist residencies. These were basically existing as part of these institutions, organizations, broadcasting, and even more so in the case of Radiophonic Workshop, because the rest of them in Europe turned more into state-funded things, or in the case of USA, like Columbia Princeton Electronic Music Studio, we have the Babbitt's couple doing like music for like a picture, but then it was also like a private funding, and on the other coast, like San Francisco State Music Center, it was more like an independent effort of the musicians. So she was basically functioning under this place, which was there for cinema and
TV,
you know,
TV.
That was the main function. But
and the TV show, this TV show was for a show called The World About Us, which was kind of, you know, like a cultural show, geography and cultures and about the world about us. And what I find fascinating about this is that it says so much about her vision and her sound. So the Delian mode wasn't for a commission at all, but she created it in the studio for use later on. This was a specific commission for a particular show. And she'd created it using totally different means. This is all concrete sounds. This is about manipulating real sounds that she's recorded, whereas Delian mode is all generated from the oscillators. And yet the character of them are so similar. You know, for a creative person with a real character in their work, you know, you can be forced into all sorts of different avenues, but what comes out at the end is still you. And I really feel that with these two pieces. But the thing with this is that she used the oscillators in this to extend the sound of the lampshade.
Adding the square waves on this wall. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The most recognizable sound in this piece is what comes in right at the beginning, which is a heavily filtered and phased sound of her playing a lampshade that was in the studio. So it's a recording of her hitting Cooley-Con utility lighting shade, British patent number 419602.
So she says, this is how she recalls it apparently, So she says that my most beautiful sound at the time was a tatty green BBC lampshade. She recalled it was the wrong colour, but it had a beautiful ringing sound to it. I hit the lampshade, recorded that, faded it up into the ringing part without the percussive start. I analysed the sound into all of its partials and frequencies and took the 12 strongest and reconstructed the sound on the workshop's famous 12 oscillators to give a whooshing sound. So the camels rode it off into the sunset with my voice in their hooves and a green lampshade on their backs. She said she recalled and wrote.
Very nice, very poetic, very nice way of putting it.
It's a lovely, it's a program note like these explanations when we have access to it, and we will add a link to the picture of that famous lampshade.
Yes, very important, and it's also the kind of phasing effect. I mean, this is late 60s. No, this is early 70s, isn't it? So this was done the year before she left the radiophonic workshop.
Oh, just before she left, yeah.
Well, a year before she left, yeah. And it was I think this was actually for a colour TV show. So things had kind of moved on a bit. And it's interesting that phasing sound, she's used a phasing sound to create the appearance of, in a way, of heat. Of like a heat haze, of like mirages and heat haze somehow.
For the context of the desert.
Yeah. Which is also reminded me of Kraftwerk's Autobahn, was from the same sort of period. And that relies really heavily on phases, which also create this sort of heat haze, sort of, hot tarmac feel to it.
So can we say that, she took it very seriously and like she was basically associating the sounds that she was creating with the visual aspect of it while still compositionally, making something really beautiful with very limited things. I mean, because there is another example that makes me say that, the rhythmic aspect of it. She says like when she analyzed the film, she based her music on the tempo of the camels walking along also. There is that aspect of it. And then it is said that she recorded a single voice note of her own, and then she repitched it to tune over the top. So it's like what you tell me and what I read here is like indicating that sort of very meticulous process.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think that these processes in those days were very long-winded and very meticulous. But they were, if it went well, it was kind of synergetic, that every stage that you took could add something to the process, so you would end up with something much more complex than what you envisaged when you started off. And it's a really lovely piece of music. And interestingly, another aspect of the kind of crossover thing with her work is that these are two short pieces. They're like singles.
They are indeed.
They're like 5 minutes long. They're easily digestible, would work on Spotify kind of thing.
There is that, but there's also this aspect of, it just makes me think about the Daphne Urim example, a compilation of things. She created so many pieces, but in this context, it's very practical. Yeah. But also, when I was listening to Freak Zone, this BBC Radio 6 show by Stuart McConney, among the works from Delia that was revealed, there are also very longer pieces. But this one is again that crossover between like popular music culture, commercial focus is at the center of this documentary, obviously, but it is still the very ambient and droney.
Yeah, really beautiful. Maybe this is a chance to move on and talk about another piece of hers that we want to look at, which is not part of the the really well-known Doctor Who world of her output, which is Circle of Light.
Yeah, we wanted to, future works that, don't get as much attention as the well-known. I mean, it's good for all the other works like Doctor Who work, but usually that is how things go viral and etc. But or in the case of when the Carlos switched on Bach is revolutionary, but we did chose to talk about her work, Sonic Seasons, predating that. So there are these aspects, and there is a very beautiful nature of these pieces, which indeed make them very much pioneering in the electronic music.
So this piece, Circle of Light, it's from 1972.
Yeah, 2 parts.
And it is available on
Bandcamp.
Now, I think
Trunk Records.
What's on Bandcamp? The original piece of music it's the music. It's a collaboration for a film.
Yeah.
And the original piece of music is 30 minutes long. So what I think they've done on Trunk Records is edited it into two
parts.
pieces.
And this one is the digital edition. So I think the original, original aspect of it is exactly it's in one piece. And again, it is part of a soundtrack for a pastoral work.
Yeah, and it's it's basically a collaboration between the filmmaker Anthony Rowland, installation artist Ella Stansfield, who had quite a role to play in the composition of the music. I think.
Yeah, it seems so. Yeah, from Scotland. It's such that she is credited as one of the creators of the album.
And then Delia Derbyshire, and then of course the whole thing, the whole film is about the work of a really wonderful British photographer, Pamela Bone.
Okay.
And I think if we look at Pamela Bone's work, we kind of get an idea of how this wonderful piece of music has been put together, because it's all about as Sonic Seasonings, and quite a few pieces that we've looked at over the years of Talks to the Chip, this relationship of electronically generated sound and field recordings.
Yeah.
And this has a parallel with the imagery that the film is based on, with Pamela Bone's photography. So there's a little quote, the Victoria and Albert Museum here in London have acquired a lot of Pamela Bone's work. And what they say about her work is, long before digital manipulation became commonplace, she developed and refined analog techniques, multiple exposures, layered transparencies and composite images, to explore how photographs could evoke not just appearances, but sensations and memory. In doing so, she crafted photographs that blur the line between reality and imagination, images that feel less captured than carefully and thoughtfully constructed. Say that almost exactly about Derbyshire's music in this, that it's refined analog techniques, multiple exposures, multiple recordings, things layered over each other, composites, and using the most advanced, most abstract technology at the time, but with recordings from nature.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the piece actually starts with the lampshade.
Again,
yes, it's the lampshade from the.
That's very famous lampshade. Lampshade. I mean, it became an important element of her compositional life, such that it was featured on a Delia Derbyshire day in a school workshop for an educational institution for kids. So we will add those links, obviously.
Yeah.
So and here we have the green lampshades back with us again.
Yeah. So it begins with the lampshade, and then immediately we start hearing field recordings and environmental sound, and the imagery from Pamela Bone's photos that are compiled into the film.
It's a pastoral work, so
it's all about nature. Now, what's difficult is that I only managed to find one little extract from the
Yeah.
film online.
It's very hard to find these works that are not Doctor Who, but even the associated visual aspect of it was hard to find.
Yeah. There's a 2-minute clip of it that I can share in the notes as well. But you can see that it's slowly transforming still images, basically. Very, very beautiful. Very intense colours as well.
Yeah, it's like it looks in a way timeless, the photography.
Yeah.
There is a lot of colors, whereas the music is quite slow-paced, ambient, but there is a lot of, sections of it that are very much like soundscape, basically.
Yeah.
Soundscape pieces. When it comes to soundscapes, we refer to Murray Schafer from Canada, but also Hildegard Westerkamp's works. These are, of course, pioneers. But yeah, there was also this kind of thing. I mean, the reason we're referring to those two are the sound art aspect, like it exists as an autonomous form, these pieces, whereas this is soundtrack, I understand, but
this is part of it. This was part of a collaboration. But it stands alone completely as a piece of music. And one of the things that makes it work so well as a piece of music is how brilliantly she's handled the dynamic range. There's very deep. There's like, in terms of it feels like there's a real distance. And there's a real panorama.
So the space aspect and the dynamic range, both of them. Yeah, it is.
One of my favourite moments is towards the end of the first section. It's a very quiet, very kind of meditative, sombre section, and suddenly there's an owl that leaps out of it, really loud, and that's really clever use of dynamics to draw you in to very, very slowly changing sounds, and then present you with something from nature that's familiar but in an unfamiliar context.
Yeah, that's how dynamics can contribute to the immersive aspect of it.
Yeah.
But looking into the process for Delia, it is showing the time of her life when she had already mastered her work as a composer and sound designer. So there is that aspect of music concrete with pre-recorded materials, field recording. But also a great example of spatialization also. This is in the stereo medium, obviously, but it is like in the stereo medium how the sounds are placed. There's a section in the first part also with the gradual dynamics resolutions between the real world sounds, like there's like insects kind of forest sounds, but also how the music fades into it, and that's like how the sounds are placed into it. It would be easy to just close your eyes and then imagine yourself in the setting, even without the company of the brilliant photography. And it's a work of collaboration, obviously, but the sounds themselves
draw you into it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a really nice bit, I think it's in the second section, where the synths that are mimicking the sound of birds. And then there's a moment when everything you're hearing is electronically generated, but it's still part of the same language, and it gets there very gently, and then the field recordings come back, and so there's these crossover points where you're not really sure whether it's electronically generated or not.
It almost like reminds me the piece that we analyzed for Pauline Oliveros 105, or the Goodbye Butterfly pieces, where she was basically working with those oscillators and filters in the Canadian studio with like Hugh Locane. And that's when you imagine like, I'm in a forest with these creatures, kind of a feeling, because there's that aspect of these machines, so it gets like very, very blurred. But then when we listen to it, then that takes me to the concept of listening forms.
Yes.
Like reduced listening, semantic listening, or like causal listening, modes of listening. We will add that. So the source of the sound, of course, we are talking about it in an analytical point of view, trying to analyze it. But then there is the another aspect of just being a listener in the journey, and that's exactly how that works out well.
Yeah, just to go along with it, Thinking just from a technical point of view, something else with this piece, we've touched on it in that we've mentioned the spatial depth, we've mentioned the dynamic range, but what's really impressive, especially for 1972, is the extremely subtle and controlled use of delay and reverb and effects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, lots of young composers and young producers.
Ambient music, delay, reverb, yeah.
Exactly, just put loads of it on,
Wishy-washy.
and suddenly you've got depth. And it's like the cheapest and easiest way of doing it. Or you just pan everything to one side and then off you go. And actually, she's achieving the same depth, but without having to rely artificially on stuff. By clever use of filters, clever use of dynamic range, subtle use of the pans.
That's very important, Jono, that you mentioned it. I mean, can we then say she was making the most of the limitations in a way? But
absolutely.
Like when you said that, exactly, I thought about it, like instruction manual for ambient music 101. If somebody talks about it, they easily, you know. I'm not denying that delay and reverb are important aspects of it.
But you don't want to put eventide black hole on everything.
Everything is. Oh, you're so like brilliant. I think exactly because filters can, you know, subtractive synthesis can help with that, and some dynamic aspects, but also the source sound here. Source sounds here, whether they are generated by these oscillators or whether they are the field recordings, they already have their ambient aspect of them.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and
blurry ambient, not
yes.
like a preset pad on Logic Pro that says wishy-washy Valhalla plugin.
Yeah, that's a Valhalla plugin. But is that, you know, that because she had to make everything from scratch. She had to make every sound from scratch. You know, you mentioned limitations, but in some ways those limitations are a bit of a gift in that they make you work at them, which means that everything that comes out is unique, is your own thing. Yeah. It's not preset, it's not a plugin.
No, it's not. And this was also, bear in mind, the longest ever piece that she composed.
Oh, really?
That's what it says. I mean, I think it is, obviously there's been like a lot of things that are revealed, but this is longest single piece of recorded music recovered from her archive in a way. So that's also important to
just a little note about the archive was that after she died, her partner found all the tapes in the loft in the house because she'd bought the house and moved in before he moved up there, and she was already there.
Yeah.
And the collection of tapes were, I think he gave them to Manchester University. Or the Royal Northern.
Oh, yeah, there's that also.
And so there is now an archive of all that material up there.
Oh, yes, shall we go? Your favourite town nearby, Lou.
Yes.
Sorry if that was not the best joke tonight.
As long as we don't have to go
Liverpool forever.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I like Manchester.
Yeah, of course. I mean, some of the best music that happened in the 20th century came from Manchester. And I'm not talking about Oasis, by the way.
Oh no! They also, everybody has like that sort of reputation, but they have Oteka, Scam Records, and they have the Gay Village. So I want to go back there. But so you are you telling me that is it still available to view this in University of Manchester?
Yes, I think so. I think and I think that the archive hasn't been. Not all of it has been released, but it has been transferred now to digital media. So I think that wraps up our approach to Delia Derbyshire. See you next time.
See you next time.